This section covers the many places throughout the code where the bundle has changed standards or procedures that might affect landmark preservation. In the outdoor lighting section, under applicability, we've added a new exemption for structures for preservation and districts for preservation that allows an exemption from the requirement that all outdoor lighting use full cutoff fixtures when lighting is proposed that is more compatible with historic structures and districts. Under the zoning permit with informational notice procedure, we've clarified a requirement that the applicant receive a certificate of appropriateness before any zoning permits may be issued when the subject zone lot contains a structure for preservation or is located in a district for preservation. Section 1241, the procedure for zoning permits, describes several exceptions to the requirement to obtain a zoning permit. This exception described here states that these exceptions do apply to structures for preservation and districts for preservation, despite what the heading says. The landmark preservation team looked at the proposed exceptions and found that the majority of types of development or construction that they would need to review would be referred to them through a zoning permit or a building permit even after the addition of the new exceptions. There were just two categories of things that they still want to see that qualify for exceptions. These are shown in items A and B. First is any change to existing structures and new construction affecting a porch visible from a primary street or side street. And second, all construction of minor detached structures where the minor structure is forward of the street-facing facade of a structure for preservation, or where the detached structure is in the front 50% of the zone lot, or the minor detached structure is located 5 feet or less from the structure for preservation. These instances can all qualify for an exception, but when this is in a landmark district or involve a structure for preservation, they cannot access those exceptions. So for example, if you had a proposal for a minor detached structure on a zone lot with a structure for preservation, it would need a zoning permit if the minor structure was proposed in the front 50% of the zone lot depth, or within 5 feet of the structure for preservation, for example. However, if the minor structure did not meet any of the location criteria in B1 through 3 on the screen, it would not require a zoning permit, even if it was on the same zone lot as a structure for preservation. The comprehensive sign plan review procedure has been reorganized. This section essentially says that when the zoning administrator receives an application for a facility requesting a comprehensive sign plan that falls within a district designated for preservation or the area of a structure designated for preservation, the zoning administrator shall refer the proposed sign plan to the landmark approving authority. That authority shall then review and determine compliance of the CSP for compliance with adopted standards, policies, and guidelines as set forth in Chapter 30 of the DRMC. And then the landmark approving authority shall provide their final decision in writing to the zoning administrator. Within the administrative adjustments section, the scope of administrative adjustments for landmark properties has been expanded. Item 1B now makes clear that this procedure is available to properties listed on the state or national registers of historic properties. You'll also see a change where we've updated the description of historic structures to match the language in DRMC Chapter 30, so that these are called These are now called structures for preservation or zone lots located in a district for preservation. In number 2, extent of adjustment allowed, the edits here clarify that any development standard can be adjusted under this AA, and they're not just limited to Articles 3 through 10. In number 3, the review criteria for an administrative adjustment, we've made the review criteria match the terms, once again, that are found in Chapter 30. As an aside, the AA for landmark properties has a relatively high bar for approval. It requires that the applicant prove that conforming to the code would have an adverse impact upon the historic character of the structure or the historic character of the district. Number 4, other types of administrative adjustments available, clarifies that these properties may apply for any flavor of administrative adjustment allowed, in addition to those where the justification for relief is directly connected to the fact of landmarking, which are covered in this particular administrative adjustment. So, for example, if a structure for preservation, if the owner is requesting an adjustment, but the request doesn't meet the review criteria in this AA for causing an adverse impact, where conformance with the code would cause an adverse impact to the structure, they would still have the opportunity to apply for an adjustment using the justifying circumstances for unusual physical conditions or circumstances, neighborhood compatibility, and other options in this section.